victory. I just got another victory. Opposition said they sick of me. We turn their future to history. They try to hit me, they missing me. Ooh, they in the way. They getting stepped on back in the day. We who they slept on. You see my place.
Yeah, confusing everybody with the victory song on the intro. Morning, everybody. Morning. It is not Knicks Deli, but you are at Sheer Brilliance Knicks channel, so I appreciate you if you are here joining me. Check it out if you're new to the channel. I want to welcome you. We are first to many and second to no one when covering the news, team moves, and who's who surrounding our New York Knicks. If you're returning, my SB community, welcome back. You already know we're doing this thing big time. Okay? We ride for our squad day in and day out, highs and the lows. We're going to get there. And if you're hopping in on the channel just because we caught this L, or you're one of the ops, we see you too. We see you in the comment section. And guess what? You're rocking with the best, baby. Stay, engage, because we want you to keep that same energy when we're where we're supposed to be. We want you to keep that same energy. All right? So you're welcome. Friend or foe, we want the smoke, and the smoke is exactly what was brought to us yesterday at Madison Square Garden, courtesy of the Toronto Raptors, pulling out an overtime victory over our New York Knicks. So we're here to talk about it, but I don't got much time. I just wanted to hop on here because Knicks fans are atting me, texting me, what's up with your boy? What's up with your boy Thibs? What's up with your boys in the referee uniforms? What's going on? Cheer, what's up? So I was just like, damn, I gotta get on this mother flipper. So I'm here, and I'm here to talk about it. The New York Knicks caught an L yesterday. All right, the New York Knicks lost an overtime game, 121-123, and Knicks fans are wilding. Yeah, son, they wilding. Knicks fans are wilding, calling for the head of the coach, calling for reviews from the league of the officiating of the game. Calling Jalen Brunson out because he took the last shot. All over the place. And this is why I hesitate to do immediate reactions after the games, because it's emotional. Knicks fans, y'all were emotional yesterday. You guys were emotional yesterday. All right? All of us were emotional yesterday. All right? But that's why you don't do anything when you're at the height of your emotions. Because you reflect on it the day after and you feel foolish. Because in reality, you look foolish. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. So this game obviously was a heartbreaker for all of us. It was. It was a game in which we saw our team fight, battle. It's a game in which we led the majority of the game. And that's the piece that I know is most frustrating. I'm not here to bash 100% my Knicks brethren. You know, because I'm part of it. It was a game that we led. It was a game that we should have won. Most of it because of us. We can easily look at the referees. But one thing that we can't do is not take ownership of us being put in that position ourselves. So we got to take ownership first and foremost. We got to start there. But man, there's a couple of things that just stood out. right? There's a couple of things that stood out. This was a playoff intense battle. I was watching the post game with Alan Hahn, and Alan Hahn said, this is a team that the New York Knicks don't want to face in a first round matchup. This is a team that the New York Knicks don't want to face in the playoffs. And I beg to differ. We battled the Toronto Raptors 3 times this season. Yes, they do have personnel that gives us matchup nightmares, but we do as well with them. So no matter who it is that we play, if we're able to make the playoffs, I'm never taking for granted where we are. But whoever we play when we get there, we should be prepared and we should be ready. But this game felt like a playoff game from the very beginning. From the very beginning, there were certain things that stood out. From the very beginning, you could see between Jalen Brunson and Van Vliet, there was something there. Knicks fans will look at it and say, we don't necessarily need that back and forth. Pass the ball. And there were moments in the game where I looked at ball movement as one of the challenges that we had. Unfortunately, I was in the process of doing something, so there were spots of the game that I missed. But very early on, one of my early takeaways was that we had lapses in ball movement. Now I know RJ Barrett plays up when he plays against the Toronto Raptors. That's his hometown team. And I know we got him rocking the Knicks cap, etc. But the man grew up in Toronto. You know he had to be a Toronto Raptors fan as well. So every player gets up to play the team that's their favorite team. All right? And there were certain moments where I was just like, man, pass the ball, bro. I understand, but pass the ball. All right? But I want to hop on a couple of topics. I don't want to draw this thing out. But Knicks fans, I'm here to tell you, I hear you, I understand, but I hear you and I understand, okay? And you're not wrong for holding your teams accountable. You're not wrong for holding your team accountable. But what I will say is, the New York Knicks have won the last 7 of their 9 games, of their 9 last games. The New York Knicks have won 7 of their last 9 games. In a back-to-back game in which the coach has played them a lot of minutes, and I'm not denying that. What I will say related to that is that that's not foreign. But let me dive into it so I can flesh this out a little bit more, so it doesn't make it look like I'm leaning too far one way or to the other. I don't care what it looks like, but I just want to explain my perspective a little bit better. So let's get into this. Actually, before we talk about our top 3, let me do as I always do by giving a shout out to my people. All right, shout out to you who are just joining me in the chat. Once again, I just wanted to hop on here, get my reaction. I don't want to go too long. I had something to do, but as I was writing my notes for this quick reaction, I'm like, damn, I'll be on here for a minute. But I want to start off by giving my top 5. She's top 5. You already know. This channel is nothing without the SB community. So every time I go live, every time I create a video, I make sure I do my due diligence and shout out the people who continue to give me the motivation to create content, to do these videos, and to share what we both love, our New York Knicks. So she is top 5 today. 1, Jason Sewell. Number 2, Stephen Baldwin. Number 3, Big Daddy C. Number 4, Avery Prince. And number 5, Larry Love. All right, show love. And I'm going to give an extra bonus shout out to H. Mac. All right, shout out to y'all. First and foremost, we part of the SB community. All right, growing and building this channel to be one of the top Knicks channels on YouTube. So let's go. All right. I want to welcome everybody. Throw your ones in the chat if you're ready to drop kick this team in their shins because of the loss that they gave up to the Toronto Raptors. Throw your ones in the chat if you have at least a 4-inch vertical to drop kick this team on these shins. Okay? But I'm going to get into it. So we got the big three here. And the big three showed up. They showed up. They put forth that effort in what was really a tough battle. I was excited to watch this game, although it was nerve-wracking. Even though we were up by like 10, anytime we have a lead, I'm never comfortable. And I know I'm not the only one. We Knicks fans. So, anytime our team has a lead, it is someone who is not a fan of sport, someone who is not a fan of the Knicks will be like, come on, let's go. They're going to win. We know what's good. We know what's good. No, I don't want to eat right now. Okay? Don't you see I'm focused? No, I can't go with you nowhere. This game ain't over. Like, no, it's 1 minute left. They're up by 10. No, it is not over. That's just the life of a Knicks fan. Okay? But yesterday's game had playoff intensity feels. And that's going to be the basis for why I must say, once again, you come to my channel and you're going to be like, yo, Prince of Positivity. Come on, man. You got to be also the Prince of reality. And you can be both. Once again, what I love about these games, I don't love the fact that we're losing some close games. I don't like the fact that we're losing games in which we were in the lead. Nah, it is frustrating. I do want to win 82 games. Okay? But what you can't discount is the fact that they're playing in these intense games. And there's a training ground. If any of you are military, I don't want to disrespect anybody in terms of the military and underselling my example. But you got to go through boot camp. You got to go through training in order to be equipped if a real world situation arises. You got to go through training. And you got to go through intense training in order to know and to learn once you are put on the spot, once the real world situation arrives. And that's exactly what the New York Knicks are going through. With this team that's relatively young, there's a lot of members in this lineup who are getting this level of minutes for the first time, including our starting point guard. Being placed in situations that are high pressure, that are clutch on the largest stage in the league, including our point guard. It's really easy for us to lose sight and take for granted what we have on the floor. So really quickly, these three, they did show up. So we had Julius Randle, who had 21 points, 15 rebounds, a double-double once again, 8 assists. We had Jalen Brunson, 26 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists. And we also had RJ Barrett, 32 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists. All right. In terms of field goals, Julius was 7 of 20. Jalen Brunson was 11 of 29. I know y'all going to talk about that. And RJ Barrett was 10 of 23. So these three did show up. But once again, what's happening is they're learning. How do you finish games together? Who do we go to? What's the rhythm? Do we have a strategy while we're entering the final parts of these games? All right, so a lot of that was called into question. What was also called into question yesterday, clearly, was the refereeing. The referees couldn't make up their mind what type of game they wanted to see yesterday. Because very early on in that game, there were some fouls where people were looking at each other like, yo, y'all not going to call that? I know I was looking at the screen like, nah, son, nah, y'all wildin'. If you let that go throughout the entirety of the game. And then they got certain parts of the game where they started shortening the whistle. And I'm like, all right, bro, what type of game is being played here? It's clearly the players are playing 90s basketball. Clearly the play. And if you want to play that type of game, we got the perfect team to play that type of game. We just need to know that that's the type of game that's being played. With that being said, there was no team that had any higher than a 10-point lead. When I'm talking about back and forth, the Toronto Raptors match up very well with the New York Knicks. Very well. They match up very well with us. So I just want to kind of dive in and go through a couple of things that stand out to me. All right? And I'm going to take it a different way that we normally do. Since this is not Knicks Deli, in which we celebrate victories, this is just my reaction. I want to kind of go down each player and talk a little bit about maybe the team and some things that stand out. But before I hit those players, I'm going to hit the New York Knicks fans. Knicks fans are losing their ish. I said at the very beginning of the video, I'm getting messages. Yo, shit, what's going on, man? What's going on with your boy? Yeah, Thibs is my boy. Y'all know he's my boy. What's going on with your boy? Yo, he needs to be out of here. This is why I need him out of here. Well, circle the block then. That's my boy I'm riding for. Circle the block. And happy birthday, Thibs. Thibs eating cake today. Listen, man. We're going to get into that. Because there are certain things that Thibs needs to take care of, 100%. It's a lot that we have to take care of. And I think that's the part that frustrates me about y'all frustration. Y'all like we got a sparkling team. Yeah, like we went into this season with a sparkling team. Yeah, like we really went into the season with as high expectations as y'all fronting as we're supposed to have. Yeah, like y'all was expecting us to be a top 4. Actually, a lot of us Knicks fans were expecting our squad to be relatively high, but that was assuming we would have a player such as Donovan Mitchell. When we were rumored to be getting Jalen Brunson, 70% of y'all didn't want him at that contract. Let's keep it real. Most of y'all wanted Thibs out of here before the season, and y'all still do. But let's keep it real. So when we started slowly stacking victories, little by little, we're getting an unexpected win here. We're pulling off a little bit of a run there. Now it's just like, oh, okay, I think we could build something. But y'all have like this untamed expectation. It's almost like X-Men. And you got, what's her name? What is the fire chick? The Rise of the Phoenix. Whatever her name is. That is a level 5 mutant. But if she maximizes her potential, her powers are uncontrollable. That's Knicks fans and expectations. Once you get a little bit of mastery of what it is your powers are in terms of this team, then you start losing your shit. That's why Thibs is not the right coach. How do you think we got here? We're going to rise and we're going to fall as long as he's here with this coach. And going into this game, we had the number 10 best record overall. And I understand and I hear you, Knicks fans, about the team's performance at home. I understand And I hear you. But you act like it's not a real thing. That the level of expectation, you don't think these players want to win in front of you? You don't think the New York Knicks want to win in front of the Garden fans? You don't think they want a parade down Madison Avenue? You don't think that? Or the Canyon of Heroes? You don't think they want to be a hero in the Canyon of Heroes? That's crazy. That's like many of you are showing how you are as parents when your kids are playing sports. That's what it is. Many of you are showing, look, the curtain is pulled back. Many of you are showing the type of parent you are when you're watching your kid play at sports. And no, I'm not the participation trophy type of parent. I would want my kid to dominate 100%. But when we don't win, we're going to talk about how do we get better. You need to keep prodding at this. You need to keep chipping away. I'm not going to be the one that follows him or her around the house like, you see that? You remember that layup that you missed? Let's watch this film. Let's watch this film. At the dinner table, I might talk about it and say, listen, how you feel about this game? You know, what areas you felt you could have been better in? I agree with you. But you know that means you got to put in the work. You ain't putting in the work here, you're doing that. That's how you do it. You don't follow them around the house. Many of you sound like you will follow your children around the house. You tell your son, look, take the garbage out. And your son tries to throw the napkin and he misses the can. You see? You even missing here. It's like you're the type of parent to keep bringing it up so that the kid begins to hate playing the sport and quit. It's the same thing. They want to win in the Garden. They are human though. These are not 8-year veterans yet. It's going to slow down for them. But the fact that they're playing in these level of intensity type of games, and it's not necessarily as a direct result of them simply losing the 10-point lead or the double-digit lead. These players get up to play the New York Knicks. And many of them are getting up to play the New York Knicks because they see them as last year's Knicks. So their mindset going into the game is, hell no, I ain't losing. We can't lose to the Knicks 2 times. We can't lose to the Knicks 2 in a row. That's why they're getting up. Y'all don't realize we're not any run-of-the-mill team. They're seeing our success, but they're seeing us as last year's team. So they're playing with a level of pride. Like, we can't lose to them. They don't know the level of talent that has increased and the fact that we're being consistent and we're starting to get into this rhythm of learning each other. They don't care or know about that. Especially these Toronto Raptors, who are embarrassed of their current record because they know themselves as last year's Raptors. And we're expecting to walk in the park. We're so focused and locked in. Let's get another streak. Let's get another streak. And of course, we want to get another win. I'm not saying go into this game and say let's get a loss, but let's get experience. But the level of the sky is falling that Knicks fans have directly after the game, at least give yourself a day. Sleep on it. Understand that it is a new day. Understand that it is a second game of a back-to-back. Understand, yes, our team does play a lot of minutes. And maybe the fatigue from this game or the ability not to be able to close from this game is as a result of a lot of minutes playing previously. But at the end of the day, anybody that gets minutes need to step up. They need to step up as well. So let me let me lead into that. So in terms of the players, it starts with the coach, first and foremost. All right? The coach needs to figure out a couple of things. Our second unit has been unproductive. Son's IQ. Take him out of that. IQ has been doing his part. IQ has been showing up wherever he's assigned. Whether he's starting because of injuries or he's coming off of the bench. IQ is doing his part. Whether he is scoring or he's playing defense. IQ is doing his part. So IQ, step aside. I'm not talking to you right now. But the rest of the bench, if you get minutes, you gotta find a way to be productive or disruptive. Miles McBride is a young player. All right, let me see if I can find. Let me see if I can find Miles. Let me bring up Miles real quick. Miles, you're a young player, bro. And we understand this level of extended minutes is unique for you. And when you have all of the players who are back, and there's a game plan and a certain role, you got to find a way to make yourself impact the game. Because you've been given an opportunity, but it is slowly slipping from your grasp. There is no way you should be in the G League getting minutes and you dropping like 50. And then you come in here and you struggle to get 5 points. I can hear many of you already saying, well, come on, man, the G League is the developmental league. He made it to the NBA. There ain't no excuses. He's an NBA player. He's an NBA player who plays NBA level defense. He don't spend all of off-season shuttle running or fighting through switches. So you need to figure out, how do you find your offense? But you're letting an opportunity slip away. The coach obviously was having confidence in him, but the more and more you become invisible when given minutes, the more you fighting your way out of the lineup, out of the rotation. One of the primary reasons that brought us to this point. But you're letting this opportunity slip. You got to find a way to impact the game when you're given the minutes. Next person I want to talk about is this man, Obi Toppin. And this conversation is going to be for two of you. It's going to be for you, Obi, and it's going to be for Thibs. Tom Thibodeau, you need to find a way to incorporate this man and make him a primary option in terms of scoring in the second unit. There is no way you should be finding ways to hide on the floor. You run to the corner and you camp there. And that sounds like part of the game plan. When I'm looking at your matchup and I'm like, you should be on the block. So I love Obi. And I love Thibs. But Obi, what are you working on in the offseason? You're coming to the point, almost to the point where people are looking to trade for you. What are you bringing? The second unit is your time to shine. You got a big body, the other team's second unit. You can't be invisible. You can't have your game solely predicated on somebody else getting you involved or getting you the ball. You need to have that same attitude you had going into the final few games last season, where you're on your way to the game saying, I'm going to ball out. Prove it. I believe you may have had 10 or 11 points this past game. That's not enough. That's not enough. You are the primary scorer. You were the one we were waiting for to get back from injury so that you can secure terror squad. You're not terror squad no more. Y'all terrified. Y'all terrible. Last season, it was our bench that was winning us games. The games that we were able to win. It was our bench. This season, our starting unit has found their mojo. But good Lord, the orange and blue juju has ran away from the terror squad, making us terrible. I'm even hearing Knicks fans talking about bringing Alec Burks back. Come on. Come on. Nah, son, nah, y'all wild. I didn't expect to get on here throwing shots at everybody. But God damn it, I'm reloading the clip. The type of scorer such as the Alec Burks, I hear you, I understand. That's the level of output. Someone who can be microwaved. Alec Burks will come in and give the work and give the business. He has the height in terms of most of his matchups. He has the repertoire in terms of being able to hit the three, being able to do the one or more. So I hear you. But I'm a firm believer most of the time, man, I don't want to retread. When it comes to certain players who had an opportunity here in this market, I don't want to circle the block on them. That's why I'm not on the bring back Melo train, not on the bring back KP train, not on the bring back all of these players that we're trying to bring back. If you got young players on your team, you need to work on developing them. Those very people you're trying to bring back are the ones who have experience. And I know that's a nice balance if you got a bunch of young players. I understand all that. My fear in bringing Alec Burks back is Alec Burks will get 35 minutes. That's my fear. For y'all know it, Brunson will be coming off the bench. And Alec Burks will be leading us into the play-in. That's my fear. I love Thibs. But when it comes to that and his affection for, you know, the Swiss Army knife that could be Alec Burks. But we what has been losing us these games hasn't been the inability of the starting unit. It's been the bench production. Just if Obi would just to step up 15, anywhere between 12 to 15 consistently, along with IQ, we'll win many of these games. But it has to be an intentional focus on getting him involved. I don't care if he goes 8 for whatever. I don't care if he goes, 8 for whatever. Begin to give him an opportunity to get his rhythm. He's in the game, he's out of the game. Same thing applies for Miles. He needs to be in there long enough to be able to know, all right, boom, the ball is going to come to me again. I will figure it out. But in the meantime, while you're there, make some level of impact. I don't care. You got 6 fouls. I'm a firm believer in that. We don't want to keep pushing them to the line, but at least make these players feel you. One thing I'm absolutely tired of in seeing this team play is the amount of matador defense opportunities that they escort players to the rim. Knock the mother flippers down. I don't care. Knock them down. They heal or not. But stop inviting them to the basket just to get the rebound and take it out of bounds. Don't be in such a hurry to take the ball out and throw it back up after you give up a pass, man. Foul these players. If the referees are allowing you to play, play. Until they make changes. Instead of crying that, listen, this foul is giving us, come on. But in terms of Obi, man, my firm belief in terms of what we're seeing, there's complaints about where my guy at? iHeart. I think iHeart's time is very close to being up with the New York Knicks. I think what the New York Knicks is trying to do is two things, twofold. I think they're trying to give an opportunity for players to figure it out and develop. But I also think the New York Knicks are showcasing players to be moved. So when we're talking about Jericho Sims, everybody knows what Jericho Sims is. Jericho Sims is a perfect piece that fits into what Tom Thibodeau was trying to do. He was able to show that in the time that he did receive. But all of a sudden, Hartenstein is getting most of the minutes again. And people are puzzled. We're scratching our heads. I would be even more puzzled if this is the case after the trade deadline. You got to be able to show teams what players can contribute to their lineups. And this is what I think is happening. I think we're trying to tread water until those moves are made. But that is the reason why I believe Hartenstein continues to get those minutes. It is 100% frustrating when you don't see him get out to challenge a shot mid-range. It's frustrating when you don't see him in there battling as well to get a rebound. And you know Jericho would get out and challenge the shot, and he'd be in there battling with Mitch to get the rebound or battling with Julius to get the rebound. I think we got three of the best rebounders or up-and-coming rebounders in the league with Mitch, Sims, and Randall. But I believe there's no way you can increase the value for a player than to have them get time. And I think that's why Hartenstein is getting most of the time over Sims right now. Sims' time will come. But I think that's what's happening. All right, just a few more and I'm going to get to the chat. But I want to talk a little bit about RJ, man. Once again, he got fouled on the last play. Let's stop. We all know that. He dunked. The problem with RJ is that he was so caught up in the moment that he didn't sell the foul. You caught up in that moment to tie the game. He didn't sell the foul. There's been times when referees called the foul after the fact based on the player's reaction. He was he was busy flexing and he probably, adrenaline was rushing. I can't blame him. You can't always expect these young players to move like veterans. But he absolutely was fouled on that last play. That could have been the end of the game. From what we've seen this season, though, it probably wouldn't have made a difference. He would have missed that foul shot. We would have been in overtime anyway. But that was a moment where he 100% got fouled, but because of his strength and his intensity and that adrenaline, he was unfazed. And the refs ain't called him. But there was a couple of, sometimes with this team, whether it's Jalen Brunson, whether it's Julius Randle, or whether it's RJ Barrett, the three leaders. I almost did a brother man. I'm like two. The three leaders of the squad. There's some bits of selfishness that pops up. When you got to recognize when to pass the ball around. There was one time Jalen Brunson had a wide open three and the ball was swinging, but it stopped with RJ. And it was a shot that he made, but it's a shot that he usually doesn't make. He should have made that last pass. But I felt in that moment, it was just like he wants to have a big game. Whether it was they were facing Toronto or it was in the Garden, I think sometimes being in the Garden forces these players to want to have big games in front of their own crowd. And y'all got to think about that. First and foremost, they are humans. And they're so used to other teams busting their ass in front of their own crowd. You don't think they want to have big games in front of y'all? You don't think they want to have big games in front of y'all? That's the piece that frustrates me when fans hop on whatever platforms they hop on, even content creators. I don't care. Everybody gets the smoke today. People are so quick to hop on their channels and talk about, yo, this person needs to get out of here. We need to ship this person out. This person, they who? Come on, man. These cats have a desire to win in front of y'all. They just need to figure out the formula for how to do it. And we can't be disrespecting these NBA teams like they are not NBA teams. Like the Toronto Raptors don't have the same primary players that helped them win all those games last year. We are the ones figuring out if we are legitimate. They ain't. They're struggling because they know they're legitimate. They're just figuring out how to piece it together. Because for them, losing is unfamiliar. For us, winning is unfamiliar. And we're both trying to figure out how to remedy it. How do we sustain and how do they get back? But there were some moments yesterday and throughout his career, I think RJ needs to increase his efficiency. That's been my biggest point of frustration with him. He's a volume scorer. And for him to be successful, you have to have some level of consistency around him so that he has those moments because he can absolutely explode on a squad. But he needs consistency until he's able to catch fire. Which leads me to this man. Comical. I sent a tweet at the very beginning of the season when this man was setting ablaze, reminding people like, listen, I'm showed up. I'm here and I'm ready for the biggest of stages. I've shown the ability to hit some clutch shots throughout the game. But I got people who are just like, he ain't a clutch player. You know, he's taking that last shot and he's shown in a couple of instances that he can't make that last shot. Ninja, what the hell are y'all talking about? This man has been more clutch than any player we've had on this team. Any player in the last 25 years. I can only imagine how you guys would be with 19-year-old, 18-year-old Kobe Bean Bryant in that Utah series. 3 straight air balls in the playoffs. Y'all would have traded him the following year. I give us credit all the time for being the most intelligent fan base. I'm lying. And I said us, yeah, I'm including myself in it because sometimes I can have more belief in somebody than they have in themselves. And that applies to our team, and that applies to us. We ain't as smart as we think we are. And some sound straight up dumb. A lot of y'all sounding dumb. No cap. A lot of y'all sounding dumb. So crazy. Man, many of y'all sound like we got 5 games left. Many of y'all sound like there is no trade deadline happening. It bugs me out that y'all don't have the ability to do 2 things. Create short-term goals and long-term goals. These visceral reactions, listen, I understand. It was a winnable game. What are your goals set up like? Do you have a vision board for what it is you want to do for the rest of the year? Listen, we just passed the New Year's. And many of y'all have New Year's resolutions. And the way some of y'all reacted yesterday, a lot of y'all already passed your resolutions, already failed on it, and already got rid of it. this team, as well as every team, has goals. What are some long-term, what are some short-term goals? And if we were to look at the list of the goals for this team, guaranteed there's already a couple of things checked off. I heard somebody mention this man being 6'1". So Jalen Brunson being 6'1" is an issue. It's an issue now based on what you've seen. Because there's not any unknown right now. He's put enough on the resume. He's put enough on paper for you to see what it is. 6'1" is an issue for Jalen Brunson for many of you right now. Do I need to pull up the what's his name? Murray in Atlanta? Do I need to pull him up? DeJounte Murray? Isn't he like 6'3" or something? 6'1" isn't a problem for Donovan Mitchell. We at the record that we at now because of this man. Y'all ready to talk? That shot, he ain't clutch. You know why he pull up and take that shot? How much more time he would have had? I saw somebody say he should have drove the ball. Don't you realize the moment that ball left his hands, the time ran out? Y'all talking crazy. Y'all talking crazy. Y'all don't hear yourself talking crazy? You're talking crazy. This man is the reason why we're looking as if we are a couple of switches away. We're a couple of tweaks away. We may be one player away from changing the perspective of how we view ourselves. A team typically looking externally for somebody to resolve our issues. This man has placed us in a position where we may be a tweak away. It could be a roster move, a tweak away, or one other player away from looking at these three as a big three in the East. For the longest time, when people would ask me when it's the right time for the Knicks to be back on top, I said we just need to ride out this LeBron era. We need to ride out this LeBron era because as much as I don't like LeBron and I give him slack on being soft as hell and being this player that's really been advantageous in how he's taken advantage of this era and teaming up and him being a big bro for every player in the league, you can expect somebody really to battle you if they like you. And he's taking advantage of all that. As much as I give him crap for all that, this man has had a stranglehold on the league. I'm like, we need to wait until he retires or begins to start declining for us to have a shot and step into who we are. So we need to build, we need to draft, we need to develop so that those timelines coincide with him going down, and then we need to elevate. And then the mother flipping Golden State Warriors happen, and it's like, damn. Well, I got news for you. They're on their decline as well. So our timeline is perfect for us to be figuring out and tweaking who we are and what we have. And the first step to that was getting a point guard. The very first step was getting a competent coach who could at least bring back some discipline, some stability, and some order, and some cojones that the players will listen to and respect. And contrary to whatever it is you say or you believe, that's what he brought. That's what he has right now. The players are listening to him. Those players aren't top draft picks. Knicks fans, we see the potential in these players, but these players weren't high picks. They're 5-star players. None of them, with the exception of Julius and RJ. But if I'm looking at the players on the team who are the top picks, and I'm not counting Rose, think Julius was what, 7? I think he may have been drafted 7. I'm not sure. I got to go back. Don't quote me on that one. We know RJ was at 3. But, man, they have big hopes for Julius. And if you go and you redraft that draft, he may be higher. But we're acting like these players are top picks, and then we're making comparisons to, to John Morant. Oh, look at John Morant. Listen, we know RJ ain't John Morant. But RJ could be as equally impactful for our team. He doesn't need to provide what John Morant does. He just needs to do what we need him to do for our team. Be more consistent, be more efficient, be in attack mode. Hit your free throws and get a consistent jump shot. That's what we need from RJ. And be an obstruction in terms of defense. That's what we need from RJ. I love where Randall's game is right now because that's exactly what's going to help us take it to another level. Rebounding, he's working on the defensive end. He still has those moments where he's missing assignments or he's turning around and he's out of position. But you can't deny his work. You can't deny his intentional effort that we see. It's beyond stats at this point for him. It's system, and that's exactly where we need it to be. He's looking to see how he can be most effective in the system that we're running. And Jalen Brunson was supposed to be such a liability. Such a liability. 6'1", when I see him fighting to get around screens, yeah, he's not tall enough to disrupt the shot. But the most thing I see is him fighting to get over or under screens, to stay in front of his guy. He's leading the league in charges taken. Nobody had a problem when 6'1" Isaiah Thomas was dominating the league. You got the best point guard on our team since mother flipping Mark Jackson. And people are talking about, oh, he ain't clutch or whatever. Why? Y'all, wow. Where's my Russell Westbrook clip? Y'all tripping. Y'all tripping. Let me get off my high horse. Let me hop in these comments. You come for me. I got the microphone. So you come for me. I'm with all the smoke today. Friend or foe. I want the smoke today. Shout out to y'all though. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Jason Sewell, or Sewell, I apologize if I'm saying it wrong. Barnes know in his heart Grimes is actually him. Facts. Yo, welcome, man. I gave you a shout out, man. I don't know if you saw it. The predicate returns. Let's go. Every time we have a lead, Thibs refuses to put Jericho in the game. And when Hartenstein is in the game, the lead disappears. Shit, these just facts. I can't argue that. Like I said, this game, Thibs has fault. He has fault in this game. Only thing I'm saying is this is 1 of 82. And we've been pointing these things out all season. We're only going to know, or we're only going to be able to see at the end of this season how things unfolded. Short term is frustrating, 100%. I'm frustrated. I wanted to win that game. I wanted to win. And you could see, when you're seeing it happen, you're just like, yo, okay. What is your thinking when you're bringing in Hartenstein and you know Sims could bring something completely different to the game? Only thing I could pull is we're getting into, trade season. Trade season is upon us. But people are watching whatever deals are on the board. Those teams are going to be looking at what are the effort and output that's taking place before I pull this trigger. I'm a firm believer that Hartenstein's not going to be here because they know what they have in Sims. You don't want it to be at the cost of winning the game, but I truly don't believe Thibs thinks that way. I think Thibs believes he can win with anybody who he has on the floor. And that could be the mistake. But I see it. It is facts. We just got to put this one behind us. And keep in mind, we've won 7 of the last 9 games. Yeah, like we hitting this 5-game losing streak. I hear you, Predicate. Steve Mendez says, look, I love my almighty Knicks. Yes, we are winning. My concern is Brunson. He's playing like an all-star, but in my opinion, he needs to distribute the ball more to make the team better. Steve, with love. With love. Let the season play out. Let the season play out. One short year ago, what type of point guard did we have at the point guard position? Don't get me into talking about 2 short years ago. What type of point guard did we have at the point guard position? We had a point guard who would get you 5, 6, 7 assists. But they dropped off of him and let him shoot because they knew he was no threat. I love to compare the number of assists that Brunson has had in average this season versus Elfrid Payton in the 2020 season or the 2019 season. Let's compare those. If he's not on par or at a higher rate than Elfrid, what are we talking about? What I have noticed that may not be involved in the stats is less touches for Julius in terms of bringing the ball up means less turnovers. The ball flows. RJ is now either at his point scoring total or he's increased it because he's getting the ball more. There's less tension between RJ and Randall because none of them are dominating the ball. There's somebody else that's dominating the ball and orchestrating the defense. Hell, we had Kyle Kuzma after their loss get on and say, listen, they're a different team. And Jalen Brunson, I could see he's Thibs on the floor. So for you to have a point guard who is getting people where they need to be, he's a scoring guard. He is a score-first guard. We knew that when he signed him. We didn't sign Jason Kidd. And I know you're not asking for Jason Kidd. I know I might be a little bit extra in terms of what you're saying. You just want to see him, spread the ball around a little bit more. I agree. I wish we had somebody to come into the game who had that much more focus. Because even when we have Quick get into the game, we don't have that level of distributor. But that just means we need to figure it out. But I think when if we ask for that, we're asking for a superstar player. It was just like, I just want to see Brunson spread that ball around more. Then you're asking for a superstar level player. All I'm saying is this is his first season with us, and we're a couple of months in. Give him time to develop that. This is the first time as a starter. As you grow, players do get better, and they can improve and get better. Hell, we had a version of Jason Kidd who was seeing the game at a greater level than the actual coaches we had coaching him. We had a version of Jason Kidd who transformed himself into a 3-point shooter, and you know how much of a shooter or how little of a shooter he was when he came into the league. So I hear you. We need to watch this thing unfold. All of the players need to get better. I think sometimes he has moments where he is so good that we are just like, yo, okay. Well, he needs to do this. I think sometimes it blinds us to the fact that he still needs to improve and develop as well. I heard Tom Thibodeau say yesterday, he said, not yesterday, it was after the Wizards game, and they were interviewing him, and reporter said, well, he's tied with third in the league in terms of drawing charges. And Tim said he's tied for what? I think he's tied with third or for first or whatever for taking charges. And Tim said, good, it's something that I could go to him and tell him he needs to work on. Now, I thought that was a real slick, clever joke. That was a compliment hidden in there from Thibs for Brunson, saying basically he's done everything I've asked him to do. I'm struggling to find things that I could go up to him and criticize him on and tell him to improve on. So far this season, he's covered a lot of mistakes. And y'all know he's my favorite player. So I'm standing. I understand it. I'm standing. But it's facts. It's facts. So let me cruise into these before I hop off here. I didn't want to take all this time. But Steve Mendez also says, and make Thibs use his bench more. Yes, but his bench has to produce for him. The bench is going to have to produce for him. Steve Mendez says, we are not moving the ball in our play to get rhythm. Yeah, I think it's matchups, because it seems like when we're facing some teams, the ball just moves effortlessly. But other teams, I think going into the game plan or going into the game, the strategy may be a little bit different. That falls on the coach. That does fall on the coach, but it seems like we approach each team a different way. And I'm not sure if that's the best solution for how we should move. Predicate says, Obi's sitting in the corner, but Obi got to add to his offensive weaponry like Grimes. He got to pump fake and put the ball on the floor and go to the basket. I agree. I 100% agree. Obi has a bag. Obi has a bag. Now, he had the injury. He joined the team a little bit, late because of the injury, but he needs to open that up. He needs to figure out where his opportunity is. And his opportunity, when he comes in for the second unit and Julius isn't on the floor, that's his opportunity. There need to be some moments where he recognizes his mismatch and he calls for the ball. All right. I'd much rather see some level of disagreement with Brunson and Obi if he's like, yo, listen, check out this matchup. I got him. Mouse in the house. Give me the ball. Let me go to work. But we're going to need to start seeing more of that. Obi is not rookie Obi no more. He's at the point now where I have the same challenge for him that I have for Mitch. Going into the season, I told Mitch, once you got that contract, stop playing with everybody. Stop being the jokey big man that everybody has fun around. Nobody want to see you laughing and kikiing on the floor. We want to see you playing with force. We want to see you dominating. And that's what Mitch has brought this year. He had a rough game this game. But for the most part this season, Mitch has really stepped up. He's playing at a different level that he hasn't played in the New York Knicks uniform. So I agree with Obi. I agree with you on your point about Obi. Predicate also says we need to work a deal sending Fournier and Cam for Bobo, a.k.a. the bowling pin. Bobo, they ain't giving up Bobo. Prior to the season, I would have been like, I was always wondering, I'm like, yo, with his skill set, how could Denver not use him? I didn't understand that. When he went to Orlando, I was watching him. I was just like, oh, yeah, that's different. Maybe it's weight. Maybe he keeps getting pushed off the block. I don't know what it was, but for some reason, there was two teams. Orlando was almost to that point until he forced Orlando to play him. Orlando was almost to that point where they were ready to let him go as well, because there were rumors that we had our eye on him. But Bobo is a problem. I don't think they're going to let Bobo go. They'd be a fool if they do. And I agree. If we can get him, we need to get him. Steve Mendez says, predicate, I'm a Bobo fan. Wouldn't mind him in a New York uniform. Agreed. Sylvie Gray says, the patience of the New York Minute is an Achilles heel. Yeah, I just want us to understand where we are. I think sometimes we feel as if we're entitled. I don't know. I think sometimes we come off, and that's that New York swag. That's that New York confidence where we have a belief in ourselves more than anybody else. One thing I would just guard against is that Chicago Bulls, when they had their run and they were dominating the league in the regular season, they fizzled out in the playoffs. You want to be playing your best basketball at the right time. And that's the only reason why I'm like, yo, listen, this was a game that had playoff level intensity. All of the games in which we lost those big leads coming down the stretch were tit for tat, back and forth. And whether or not we won or we lose those games, we're getting accustomed to being in high pressure situations. That experience is going to serve us well when we get to the end of the season and we're determining if we try to make a run for the play-in or we're trying to secure our, standing in the playoff. It's going to help us in those games because we've been there before. You've had young players who are now experiencing, all right, once we figure out how to close these games, how do we repeat that? We know what worked last time. How do we repeat that? What's your move? What's your counter move? Yeah, POP is back. His Prince of Positivity putting a spin on it. I understand it, but it's facts. You're going into a situation for the first time. You're learning it on the fly. But if you've been through it a number of times, the moment it arrives is familiar to you. You size it up much faster. You know where to go. And the fact that we've kept this core group together and you're adding a piece here and a piece there. You've been in these battles with these people. So you can say, yo, boom, you remember like last game, all right? This time you do it differently. You cut this way, go over here. I'm going to throw you the ball. I know you can go get it. That's the value in keeping this group together. It's the value in being in these close but intense games. I'd much rather be talking about how we lost a double-digit lead, barely pull it out or letting these things slip away than talking about getting blown out by double digits. I've been there before. I don't want that no more. My frustration is that some of the fans talk like we ain't been there before. Like, y'all don't remember those days. Come on, man. Whew, man. Jason says, these losses are embarrassing to fans like Blood Scene in 1976 horror thriller. Carry on. Come on, bro. Now I can't get the visual out of my head. What are you doing? What are you doing? Promises Knicks start blowing teams out once increase the rage and decrease the turnovers. Facts. It's really about gaining this confidence. We need to figure out when, if somebody knows, tell me when the All-Star break is. Because it'll be dope to be riding a 5-game win streak or something around a 5-game win streak. String together some wins going into the All-Star game. Because that's when whoever's selected to the All-Star game is going to go into that game with such confidence. Knowing that the Knicks have turned their season around. If we could go into the All-Star break at a certain number, and I think that's part of the goals. They're going to put a number there. How many games over 500 do you want to be going into the All-Star break? That's going to be the goal. There's going to be goals. There are goals, I'm sure, that are built in throughout this whole season for this team. When you've been coaching a team for so long, for so many years, you got to find creative ways to motivate and get these players up. And all of it is still a figuring out process because you got young players. Young people are different. And you got to be constant. And I know that's probably the foundation of supporting many of your arguments to get rid of Thibs. Well, while we got him, he's ours. Do you want him to fail? Good point, graphic though, Jason. Steve says, we talking about rhythm. I understand. Yo, my guy, wait, Harbaku steps in, talks about facts. Appreciate it. I can't hold that in. Shout out to Cuzzo. Appreciate it. Predicate says, yeah, Steve, I think Bull can contest shots, block shots, and rebound and push the ball for us. I think it would make our bench better. Yeah, but I mean, shout out to the front office, man. I'm a fan of the front office. I think they got eyes on that, and they got connections. Wasn't Steve Perry part of the Orlando Magic organization? Hamaku says around February 19th. Good. That gives us some time. To make a run. And we wrap it up. Hamaku says All-Star Weekend. Yes. So I just want to end it on this. Listen, we got something we haven't had in a number of years. We got a team that's going to be a problem for the league. We got a team that's no easy win for any other team in this league. I don't care who they are. We're no easy win. We got a player who we know has the ability to be a star. We already have now it's going to be a multiple time all-star in our starting lineup. Julius is changing the narrative. Many of us will be like, still for the right price. We can move on. But Julius has shown if you give him a player of his caliber, he'll play his role. He relinquished the reins. He said, okay, this is the role I need to play. Pull back, I'll do it. And he's seen his game return to where it was 2 years ago as a result of it. All I'm asking is just, have some ability to have some foresight long term in terms of the season. All right. Or at least look at trade deadline. Okay. And if this team doesn't make moves, then that does put into perspective. So what were you thinking not putting Sims in? I understand that. And at that point in time, we can revisit that. But by then, the record should be to the point where we would look and say if that was a moot point, or would be like, damn, you know what? Damn, Thibs does has experience. We just pulled off. We're on like a 12-game winning streak. So maybe he does know what he's doing. Maybe he is en route to another Coach of the Year nod. But it remains to be seen. Just realize there's short-term goals, there's long-term goals, but this is a marathon and not a sprint. It's a journey we're on, and that journey is going to have highs and lows, but it's how we respond to those highs and lows. So the key is going to be, how does this team respond? Do they continue to stay engaged, intense? Do they continue to have some games in which they have impressive wins? Toronto is a nightmare matchup. They're long, they're experienced, and they have championship DNA. We're not going to just sweep them. They've been in these situations before, and they've overcome them. We act like they're a bum team. They're not a bum team. I just want to hop on here and give my reaction. It was longer than I expected it to be, but I thank y'all for joining me. SB community, do me a favor. If you like the content, hit the like button. All right? 9 people left in the chat. It should be 9 likes in there minimum. Okay? Hit that subscribe as well. Thank y'all for joining me. And keep in mind, all right, same thing applies to life, applies to our team. If there is no struggle, there is no progress. All right? Next game up, let's get this win. All right, be safe. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm out. Peace. I'm going to end with the theme music of expectation. Okay? I'm out. Later, y'all.
Victory. I just got another victory. Opposition said they sick of me. We turn their future to history. They try to hit me, they missing me. Ooh, they in the way. They getting stepped on.